selamat datang di SIP, Sistem Informasi
Podcast.
Podcast. Nah, ini udah episode SIP ke-5 ya guys ya. Jadi di episode ini kita bakalan ngomongin apa nih, Jos?
Nah, di episode kelima ini kami akan membahas tentang magang nih dan bagaimana supaya kita membahas magang supaya mahasiswa baru yang belum magang bisa mengerti tentang seputar magang nih. Dan juga kita akan membahas tentang MSIB yaitu magang dan studi independen bersertifikat. Nah, kali ini kami udah ditemani juga nih dengan kakak-kakak yang sudah magang dan juga sudah memilih program MSIB ini. Dan narasumber kami adalah
Ada Kak siapa?
Saya Julius Kevin.
Julius dan
saya Radia Rahmananta.
Kak Radia.
Oke. Ada Kak Julius, ada Kak Radia.
Oke, jadi langsung aja kita mulai ke pertanyaannya guys ya. Nah, buat Kak Radia nih, bisa diceritakan bagaimana kakak bisa dapat kesempatan untuk magang, apakah dari program kampus atau dari dosen gitu? Ya kira gimana tuh Kak?
Jadi untuk saya mulainya dari bisa dibilang program kampus. Saya kurang tahu kalau antara jadi nama tempat bisnisnya adalah Komso. Dan saya kurang tahu kalau antara dari Komso yang mereka berinisiatif untuk partneran sama Atmajaya atau Atmajaya yang kasih invite-nya. Tapi intinya ada event workshop yang which lasts for a week, and within those weeks it's divided into two parts. One is to familiarize yourself with Git for around 2 days, and the remaining 3 days is to basically do your own independent project, whether it's on your own or you can partner up with other people in the group, and you just try to make anything in the programming language that you're asked to work with during the workshop. If I recall correctly, I think it was Java.
Java.
Yeah, there you go, I think.
Oh.
It was with React, and we also had to do a little bit of JavaScript. But yeah, that was basically what we had to do. And depending on how you perform and the end product of your project, they'll evaluate you and they'll decide based on that evaluation. Like, okay, these are the top 10% of the candidates. I think at the time, out of 20-ish people, 4 people were considered in the list of who to interview from them.
Yang bisa diinterview ya. Oh jadi kalau dari Kak Radia nih, mereka ada workshop waktu itu. Nah workshopnya itu dibagi jadi 2 part besar. Jadi mereka awalnya kayak pengenalan dengan Git. Nah
Training lah ya.
Iya.
Awalnya masih training.
Dan kemudian yang kedua tuh mereka membuat project. Nah dari project ini tuh baru nanti di saat akhirnya penilaian baru akan ditentukan kandidat untuk diinterview sama perusahaan tempat mereka magang.
Nah, kalau misalnya di Kak Julius gimana nih? Bagaimana Kak Julius bisa mendapatkan kesempatan memilih program MSIB ini?
Oke, kalau gua itu waktu semester 6 masuknya Bangkit, itu studi independen. Jadi Bangkit itu kayak project yang dikerjain oleh 3 perusahaan besar, Google, Gojek, Tokopedia, sama Traveloka. Nah itu studi independen masuknya. Nah di situ ada 3 learning path: mobile development, machine learning, sama cloud computing. Awalnya gue tahu dari Bangkit ini dari Pak Jul yang waktu sebelum mulai semester itu ngasih penyuluhan dulu, kita perlu magang, kita bisa juga selain magang kita juga bisa studi independen. Nah kita juga dikasih tahu gimana caranya buat cari-cari tempat-tempat itu di mana aja gitu, kayak misalnya Kampus Merdeka, atau Pak Bata juga sempat mention Bangkit ini. Nah Bangkit ini tuh bagus banget lah, coba kalian coba daftar ini untuk ya studi independen itu. Makanya gue bisa daftar ke Bangkit.
Oh.
Bagaimana pengalaman ini dari segi MSIB mempengaruhi pandangan tentang industri tentang yang kakak pelajari ini?
Nah, ini kan karena gue itu software engineer, jadi gue ngambilnya learning path yang mobile development. Ya. Setelah itu kita selama 6 bulan itu belajar apapun itu tentang mobile. Kita waktu itu pakainya Android Studio, bahasanya Kotlin. Jadi kita belajar semuanya tentang itu, dari AOP-nya, dari dasarnya, habis itu fundamental Android, intermediate, advance, dan habis itu kita bikin tim di antara dari 3 learning path tersebut, terus kita bikin aplikasi dari tim itu. Impact-nya sih buat gua karena emang kita selama 6 bulan ini belajar mobile terus, jadi gua rasa kita dibuat sebagai Android mobile developer. Jadi pemikiran gua tuh udah jadi sebagai mobile developer. Kalau misalnya ke depan-depannya gua udah tahu gua harus kemana. Kayak misalnya kan sebelumnya software engineer tuh kita belajar semuanya, itu entah itu web atau mobile. Nah itu gue masih gak tahu arahnya nih gue mau kemana nih. Tapi setelah ikut studi independen ini, gue udah tahu gue harus kemana. Gue udah tahu gue suka yang mana. Iya, lebih terfokus.
Oke.
Kalau dari Karadian gimana?
Oke, jadi dari saya kan tadi Kak Julius itu dari pantungan atau perspektif yang secara bisa dibilang personal ya.
Iya.
Dari saya, I want to bring it's sort of personal as well, but more in line with how do I say it? Because he talks about what you want to like, how to say it, having a direction, right? Once you start doing it. For me, I think I'm still sort of not confused, but like I'm still not sure which path to choose. But taking on this internship in Comsol, it has a lot of my predefined notions, my expectations, and my assumptions regarding working as a software engineer. A lot of it has changed, basically. I think prior to internship, I always thought, man, working in this industry, I think you'd have to be not necessarily a genius, but you have to put in a lot of practice. And a lot of the times you hear not just stories, but maybe some cases, whether it's a family, a friend, or someone that you know of, right, that you're familiar with, maybe online friends, who say that, oh yeah, a lot of my expectation before was like, oh, people were working almost 24/7, so even outside of the office, that doesn't, every single employee is constantly working. Not only that, a lot of the language, the coding convention involved is very difficult or to a very high standard. So someone who hasn't practiced a lot, I was thinking like, oh my, this is I don't think I'll be able to make that standard, like to keep up with that standard. Only for it to break that my expectations to break from reality during the first month, because maybe this is just because as an intern, your expectations are obviously a lot lower, right, in the company. You'll be making a lot of mistakes, and I think you'll sort of expect yourself maybe during the first 2 weeks, or maybe even your first month, or however long it may be, depending on your expectation, to constantly work, right? Because you want to prove yourself. I think for me, a lot that notion broke during the first 2 weeks, because I remember the first 2 weeks I was trying my absolute hardest, just memorizing all the code conventions that the company has already laid out, trying to understand and going above and beyond. Like, this is like objective A, B, and C, but then I try to I do beyond just A, B, and C, or if it's objective A, then I think as deeply as possible. A lot of the times, you shouldn't do that, actually. A lot of the time, I can't speak for maybe other companies, but for a company like Comsol yang memang employees-nya rata-rata memang muda, right? So not a very old company, or a company that has a lot of senior, in terms of age, senior employees. Because of there's an emphasis on a work-life balance, and they highly encourage you, and they really do try to tell you that it's okay if you can't. For example, there's this objective, there's this due date. Even if you don't meet, for example, you're not complete with all the tasks that you're given within the deadline, it's not like the end of the world. It's not like you're going to disappoint. You're not going to disappoint your parents. It's not like this feeling of disappointing your parents, right? If it happens, it happens. Because the mentality of a software engineer, I think, based on my 4 months of this internship, whenever there's a problem, even if you don't make the deadline, just try to solve it and you provide alternatives.
Hmm.
Because the moment you stop trying to find a solution or you stop trying to find an alternative, it's like no one would value you,
Yeah.
not as a person but as a worker,
Yeah.
and it's fine. Like you can have a lot of things that you need to work on, whether it's like your own personal or the way you work, but as long as you don't give up on trying to find a solution and you can always communicate that clearly, whether it's to your boss or to your seniors, right, or whoever you're working with, right, your coworkers, as long as you communicate with them, hey, this is a problem, what can we do to fix it, can this be fixable, if it's not, let's search for other options besides
Yeah,
this.
figure it out. Yeah.
That's basically it. So yeah, like if that experience of mine can be applied to a lot of other companies, then I think a lot of people shouldn't really be scared like I was when I first started out
Yeah.
in internship. Like don't focus on just burning yourself out, whether it's like the first month or the entire however long the duration is. Just work-life balance and just keep trying to find a solution.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oke.
Nah, kita bakalan lanjut ke pertanyaan berikutnya. Nah, bisa diceritakan nggak sih tugas-tugas atau selama magang apa yang dikerjain gitu? Misalkan kalau Kak Radian kan tadi di perusahaannya konsol. Nah, iya. Apa ada proyek khusus gitu yang selama magang dikerjain?
Sebenarnya sih iya. Jadi untuk saya ada bisa dibilang satu project besar dan depending on the requirements based on the company at the time, because a lot of things can change. There is no definitive or like concrete plan. Like currently right now, I'm working on the big project and a sub project based off of it. But knowing the progress that we're making and whoever is the future intern after me, it could possibly be that they could be working on the major project and two sub projects, not at the same time, but one after the other. So currently, my task, my whole task in Comsol as an intern right now is to develop their in-house library.
In-house library.
So an in-house library is basically most tech companies, they do use, for example, they use a coding language, right? In my case, it's Flutter. But they have a very specific use case for Flutter because of the products that they've already developed and the projects that they've already worked on. And their problem, to my understanding, is that whenever there's a new project, instead of trying to remake the same basic components over and over again, so for example, like the login page, a scan page, input field text, those are things that are very common across all their products. And instead of them having to copy paste the code every single time from one project to another during migration and having to make like smaller and smaller adjustments, in their eyes, it would be far more efficient if they just made a library that they made on their own in-house, hence the name. And instead of looking at other projects, they just look at this one big library that they made, and they're like, okay, I need this login page. Done. It's not necessarily working on something very complex, because a lot of it, what I'm basically doing is just looking at their existing repos, looking at their existing projects, and seeing, okay, what can we fit into the library so that it's easier for other developers inside Comsol to just take it from the library.
Custom widget gitu.
Basically custom widget. And my other project based on that in-house library is to make a logistic demo template. So because the company focuses on ERP systems. I forgot what ERP stood for, but it's basically enterprise. I forgot what the RNP is, but it's something to do with businesses and how they manage their inventory, their stock, basically. Their storage system, exactly. So we're trying to make a logistic demo template that when we show to future clients or customers of the company, like, hey, we made this in-house library that we're going to sell in the future, and this is what you can do with this in-house library. And it's me and my partner's job to make sure that both the library works, it functions well, and when you take stuff out of it, it works, and that the template itself, the demo application, is able to utilize the features that we made for the library. And that's basically that's basically what I've been doing.
Oke.
Berarti banyak juga ya proyek yang dikerjakan dengan mungkin bisa bilang sedikit kompleks dengan pertanyaan sebelumnya udah dibilang juga kalau misalnya standarnya juga tinggi kan karena dengan proyek yang banyak dan standar juga tinggi pasti agak susah awal-awalnya kan. Nah tapi kalau untuk Kak Julis gimana nih? Apa aja yang dilakukan nih selama MSIB atau proyek-proyek apa sih yang udah dikerjakan?
Nah karena gue ini kan studi independen ya, jadi kurang lebih buat 5 bulan pertama tuh kayak kita kuliah biasa aja, cuma kita fokus di satu materi itu ya. Kayak kalau gua kan Android, ya semua apapun itu kita pelajari, kayak diajarin juga best practice-nya gimana buat Android ini gimana. Terus karena nantinya kan kita bakal collab ya, kita bikin tim sama yang dua learning path yang lain. Jadi kita juga gimana sih caranya buat nyambungin dari mobile ini ke cloud, terus nanti kayak misalnya nanti project gue yang akhir tuh semuanya ini saling berhubungan. Jadi emang diajarin dari awal sampai basicnya awal, terus kita buat terus sampai deploy. Nah sebelum deploy itu kan kita perlu ada integrasi antara tiga ini ya. Nah itu juga dipelajarin tuh semua di situ. Terus jadi di Bangkit juga nggak cuma belajar hard skill yang Android tadi, kita juga ada sambil diselingi sama soft skill kayak misalnya time management atau kita juga jadi di Bangkit itu full English. Jadi kita juga ada kelas Inggris juga di situ. Jadi nggak cuma hard skill, soft skill juga. Sama yaitu kesempatan buat ngerasain gimana sih bikin suatu project, gimana kita ngedeploy aplikasi, begitu.
Nah, tadi kan udah jelas juga project-projectnya juga, tapi kita ingin tanya juga nih, bagaimana sih tantangan terbesarnya dalam menjalani hal itu, dan bagaimana cara mengatasinya dong tentunya. Coba Kak Kevin.
Jadi dari 3 learning path itu, mobile development paling sedikit orangnya waktu angkatan gue. Karena orangnya sedikit, jadi waktu bikin tim itu komposisinya 2 machine learning, 2 cloud computing, sama 1 mobile developer. Nah jadi kesulitan gue sih karena gue waktu di tim itu gue nggak bisa kayak diskusi buat aplikasi kita ini di bagian mobile masalah ini tuh buat nyelesainnya gimana gitu, apakah lebih baik ini lebih baik gitu ya. Karena sendiri itu sih jadi gue agak sulit buat nyelesain masalahnya. Tapi emang sebenarnya ada dibikin kayak forum diskusi gitu ya, jadi kita bisa saling bantu, entah pesertanya saling bantu atau mentornya juga bisa bantu juga. Jadi lumayan terbantu sih dari forum diskusi itu, tapi ya lumayan susah juga karena nggak ada teman buat diskusi di dalam tim.
Oh iya, berarti udah dibantu juga ya dari perusahaan dengan adanya forum diskusi bersama itu juga ya. Nah tapi kalau untuk Karidin gimana nih, kan tadi udah dijelasin juga bagaimana kesulitannya. Nah ini tapi cara mengatasinya versi Karidin gimana nih?
Ini yang pas beberapa bulan pertama yang cukup kesulitan untuk membiasakan.
Sebenarnya sih gimana ya? Kalau bisa dibilang, a lot of it just comes from your own. Like it's more of like a personal struggle in my case, rather than like I do have stories to share, but maybe I can try to fit it in here. So I think for me, right, although technically I'm labeled as a full stack developer, I've been mainly working on the front end, so the UI and the UX, not really UX, but the UI layouting, right? And my friend, he did UI, and now he's doing backend, right? And now I have to also do something similar from one of my problems just received today. But a lot of the time, like for me, I'm not that well informed with how Flutter works with all of its intricacies because Flutter itself as a language, the Dart language that it uses, it's very versatile because you can do a lot of things. Both front end and back end is all in one Flutter project, basically, right? So being someone who's mainly done UI but not back end, the problems that I face mainly are trying to translate the designs from design team. So we have in Comsol at least we use Figma, right, for all the designs that design team creates. I look at them and okay, I need to make this, this, and this. And the biggest problem usually for me typically is how do you translate design into code? Because a lot of the times, sometimes, or in this case, a lot of the times, what can be done in design in someone's like imagination or their head, sometimes it's very hard to do when you do it in code. For example, if all you want to do is like, okay, can you put text box here, picture above with a title? Yeah, okay, that's doable, right? You can just, if you don't know how to do it, then Google searching it is fine, right? You'll get your answer. But then they ask you, hey, for this dashboard, can you make a transition? Can you make an animation? Okay, we'll try first. And then I look into it. Oh my god, this involves a lot of math. If you've been skipping out on math like I did, oh my god. I was like, how I can't figure this out. So let's look for other options. Like it's always like it's that aspect of okay, translating design into code is a lot harder than it seems. This process could take up to hours in a row or several days.
Wow.
Or at worst, it's a recurring problem that like every week you need to discuss like how to approach it in a different way, right? That's for me as I guess you could say UI developer. That's the biggest problem for me right now. But the other is also, I guess you could say, it's not really a big obstacle, but it's a repeating obstacle. It's always having to understand the intention or the purpose when adding something. In my case, right, I have to answer to multiple seniors, one from design, one from projects, and one, in this case, the branch manager himself. And sometimes they ask for different things usually. And it's up to you in order to sort of like understand yourself like, hey, for me, is this even possible to begin with? Because if it's not possible for me, then I need to tell them, I need to clearly communicate this. If I think maybe it's possible, but I don't know how to, you have to communicate it not just to the person in question, but other relevant co-workers who might know like, hey, I know this senior is really good in Flutter. In particular, he knows about structuring and his layout really well. So if I have this structure or layout problem, maybe not only do I need to tell this to design, like, okay, I'll try to figure this out, like give me a day or two. I'll also like straight away, if possible, go to that senior who's really good at layouting and like, hey, I have this problem. That's usually like your day-to-day obstacles that I have to face. And it's not crazy difficult. It can be stressful, but as long as you keep on asking, that's how I deal with it.
Tipikal kerja ya, jadi harus
banyak nanya ya.
Tanya banyak.
kesulitan. Nah, pertanyaan berikutnya nih, apa saja keterampilan atau skill-skill baru yang kakak-kakak pelajari selama masa belajar itu dan juga magang? Mungkin skill baru, misalkan kayak ada mempelajari bahasa pemrograman baru atau teknik-teknik baru gitu.
Any new skills? Well, besides the obvious that I'm learning more and more about Flutter every time there's a new task, right? And I'm trying to refine my skills with the code conventions that we have to try to follow as best as we can in Flutter. For me at least, the one obvious like change within me when I write code for Flutter now is I can imagine in my head now if I look at something in Figma from design team, I don't need to like think really hard, like maybe about half. It used to take me about half an hour to try and think about, okay, this is how I'm going to lay out it. Oh, I need to put like okay, 2 columns first and then multiple rows. No, I like nowadays I can just look at the design and like, okay, I don't think too hard about it. Sometimes, a lot of the times, I think overthinking has it's not really a good thing. If you feel like you have an idea, just try and do it first, but don't go so far as into like, how to say, don't go so far into thinking like, oh, I want to do all this crazy stuff. Just make sure you try to code it in a way that the output is exactly what's being asked for. And after that process, if you think the code could be written better, then during that time you can. As long as you understand, like, okay, this code is not really like optimized in a good way, so you need to remember that. The other skill, I think, for me, is learning how to work with others, I guess. I think it's a constant skill, like no matter your environment, whether like in this podcast, in classes, or in anywhere, right? You constantly learn to work with other people, especially if it's with strangers that you're not familiar with at first. But for me, being thrown into a company with like 49 other employees that I have never worked with at all, it's like that feeling of like your first day in uni. It's something similar like that. But in this case, for in a business environment, you really should like try to not think at all about embarrassment, about being shy, because if you do have a question, I think it's usually the best case to just ask it directly, like ask straight away. Like don't try to wait too long on it, because maybe not okay. Like there are business aspects to it, so I can give you an answer. Like obviously, businesses don't like if there's a problem, but you have to wait for it because they lose. In theory, they lose money, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to do that to a business. But I think a more relatable answer is you don't. At least in an IT company or tech company, everybody, and I really mean everybody, appreciates when you ask them something. It's genuinely. I don't know what phenomenon this is. It's hard to. Maybe it's similar to like asking the teachers, for example, lecturers. But then just asking. The people will. Most IT people are, even if their demeanor, their behavior, like they make a mean face or they look like they've been having a bad day, so it's hard to approach them. It's usually fine to just ask them, because a lot of the times, maybe I don't know if you guys share this with me. I'm not the most social person. I find it really hard to talk to people, right? Especially if it's someone that's like a stranger. But being thrown into a company and being expected to like, hey, you should start working, just ask. Don't be afraid and just ask. People will always be happy.
Oh, berarti karena emang seperti biasa ya, kerja di company pasti harus
dari company
Karena
pasti nggak
skill.
bisa sendiri, jadi harus organisasi, bekerja sama.
dan juga tadi udah dibilang juga karena banyaknya project juga meningkatkan troubleshooting skills-nya Karadian juga ya.
Iya.
Makin lama jadi makin tahu gimana cara menyelesaikan tugas ini lebih cepat. Kalau misalnya dari Kak Julius nih, gimana nih? Keterampilan apa aja yang kira-kira kakak dapat baru nih dari menjalani program MSIB ini?
Selain pastinya mau bikin aplikasi mobile. Cara gue belajar sih. Kalau sebelumnya kan gue emang kalau misalnya mau belajar bikin web atau apapun itulah, kita cari aja tutorial, misalkan Laravel atau tutorial Flutter atau apapun itu. Cuma karena setelah ikut di Bangkit ini, kan kita nggak perlu cari materinya di luar, karena kan emang udah disediain dari mereka dan juga itu best practice-nya kayak gitu. Jadi gak susah banget buat cari materi itu. Nah setelah dari situ gue udah tahu kata-kata best practice ini nih. Jadi dengan kata-kata best practice ini gue udah bisa cari materi-materi di luar. Ya emang nambah satu kata doang dari 2 kata. Cuma dengan kata itu gue cari materi itu lebih gampang, lebih terarah gitu. Gue nanti maunya kemana, bagusnya waktu belajar ini tuh kayak gimana ya, kayak gitu. Mungkin mirip juga sama Radian ya, sosialisasi gitu, komunikasi itu penting. Gue sadarnya di situ karena biasanya kan kalau misalnya kita di kampus ini memang banyak orang dari luar, tapi akhir-akhirnya mereka yang kesini terus mereka dibentuk jadi kayak ya kurang lebih kayak lokalnya di sini ya, karena mereka nyesuaian dengan lingkungannya. Cuma kalau gue waktu itu kan Bangkit tuh online, jadi gue benar-benar ada yang dari luar Jawa lah, ada yang ya pokoknya dari mana-mana, terus diam juga di daerah mereka. Jadi kita benar-benar perlu ya ada walaupun cuma beda daerah dari sini ke sana, ya ada culture shocknya juga sih, kayak pemikiran mereka beda, kayak ya nyesuainya juga lebih susah ya gue bilang daripada yang ketemu di tempat ini, ketemu di kampus gitu, karena itu benar-benar beda wilayah. Jadi gue merasakan pentingnya komunikasi itu di situ waktu bikin tim itu kan. Terus juga pemilihan bahasa itu penting banget juga, bukan pemilihan bahasa doang, pemilihan kata gitu. Jadi mungkin buat gua mudah mengerti dengan kata ini, tapi karena mereka beda wilayah, beda, mungkin bisa dibilang beda tongkrongan juga, dengan kata ini mereka nggak ngerti. Jadi bisa harus lebih jelasin lagi gitu. Ya komunikasinya dibenerin lah. Jadi gua dapat skill komunikasi juga di sini.
Oke, berarti kalau misalnya dari segi Karadian yang ikut program MSIB lebih ke cara belajarnya ya.
Cara belajar,
Cara belajar, dan juga walaupun tadi karena mengambil dalam waktu karena dalam waktu itu dari periode online ya kan, tapi tetap mendapatkan cara berkomunikasi yang lebih baik juga ya kan. Nah, oke, jadi udah agak lama nih ya. Jadi kita langsung aja ke pertanyaan terakhir. Bagaimana tentunya saran-saran dong, saran kakak untuk mahasiswa-mahasiswa nanti yang ingin mengambil entah MSIB atau mengambil magang, dan juga ada tips atau tips and triknya lah untuk mereka gitu. Gimana Kak Julius?
Ya ini ada hubungannya sama Radian juga.
Oke.
Gua ngambil studi independen itu karena ekspektasi tadi, karena gua tahu skill programming gua tuh kurang banget. Jadi gue ngambil studi independen untuk ya gue harus belajar supaya memenuhi ekspektasi orang-orang. Tapi ternyata nggak, ekspektasi orang tuh nggak setinggi itu juga. Jadi kita juga kita juga ada dikasih waktu buat belajar juga kan. Kita juga nggak ada masalah buat tanya-tanya ke mereka. Nggak ada salahnya buat masuk ke studi independen. Tapi kalau misalnya lu takut buat magang karena lu nggak punya skillnya, ya masuk magang aja deh, karena emang
just do it lah ya.
Iya, karena emang kita juga dikasih waktu belajar, kita nggak benar-benar datang masuk itu terus langsung
ujian.
Iya, terus terbiasa dengan lingkungan pekerjaannya mereka gitu kan. Ya, kita benar-benar dikasih waktu, kita juga ya jangan insecure lah. Entah magang atau studi independen, dua-duanya bagus, tapi sesuaiin sama yang lu mau.
Oke, kalau misalnya dari segi Kak Radian yang udah kerja di company,
hampir saran saya sih hampir sama kayak Kak Julius. Itu hampir sama-sama. So like I think overcoming the fear of your expectations itu yang paling besar. I think determining whether or not you're qualified to untuk magang atau untuk magang di whatever company or whichever company. A lot of the times, and this at least for Comsol, it's very obvious banget just by how they treat the workshop, right? Menurut saya, in my opinion, in my batch, I have a couple of friends which I think, right, are smarter than me in coding. They know they have a very strong foundation. It's much stronger than I do, right? And they have a lot more experience because they actually do practice on their off time, for example. Whereas for me, I'm still limited to I'll only do it if someone tells me to do it, right? So I'm not the best example or material when it comes to your ideal programmer in any company. But I like to believe that the reason I was given the opportunity to intern in the first place is simply because I just tried, you know? Like even when React was a very new language and I've never used Git prior to the workshop, I didn't know how to use either of them. But I didn't want to give up in like how to say, I didn't want to let the opportunity run away from me. So I just really tried in that 5 weeks to like, okay, I need to like do this, do that, because I want to show that I'm serious, that I want to gain this experience of learning in a company, that I want to learn from others, that I want to be better. And I think that's basically it. Like perhaps in other events or other workshops, ones that are a lot more prestigious, let's say you could have a direct opportunity to work with Google because Google has a lot of those events, right?
Yeah.
Where they invite interns. Maybe in those situations, yes, the skill, the individual skill level of your programming will affect more to, to the chance of interning in Google. But I'd say don't limit yourself, like Julius. Jangan hanya lihat magang, like satu tempat magang.
Yeah.
Because once you have that attitude, the attitude to like not let go of the opportunity, you can try anywhere, and you just try your luck. Yang penting coba-coba aja.
Coba aja dulu.
I think for me that's my kesahan lah.
Oke.
Berarti ya seperti biasa, jangan takut dulu ya guys. Yang penting kalian coba-coba dulu, karena ya nggak langsung kalian langsung diminta kerjaan berat, pasti nanti ada training juga kan.
Training kan belajar juga, lingkungan baru. Oke guys, jadi tidak terasa kita sudah berada di penghujung dari podcast episode kelima ini. Jadi ya buat teman-teman tadi sarannya sudah disampaikan sama kakak-kakak. Nah jadi ya sampai jumpa teman-teman di episode podcast Sistem Informasi Podcast berikutnya.
Jangan lupa like, subscribe, dan komen ya guys.